Hi again, everybody. So, we are going to start by helping you through the beginning of your studio assignment. So, from what I understand, you guys will be modeling some chunks of various buildings, and you're going to be drawing them in plan and section and in AXO. And I'm basically going to give you the tools you're going to need to do that. So, like I said in our first video, when you start Rhino, the first thing you want to do is go over to File, Properties, Units. Make sure it's in feet. The default is millimeters, but I had this file open already. So make sure that's in feet. Go to Layout, make sure that's in feet. Hit OK. Then what we want to do, open your File Explorer. If you have an image that you're going to be tracing, I am using pictures of house gables, if you're familiar with that project. You're going to take your desired image, you're going to drag it in. This little pop-up appears and you're going to hit picture. Okay. And then what I like to do is I like to put on grid snap. Just kind of drop this in here. So I'm also going to move my camera. So we have this image in here. The first step is to scale it correctly, right? So what we want to do is there's no scale given on this image. Sometimes if you're tracing something, you'll get a picture that has a scale on it or it tells you what the scale is. We don't have a scale here, but we have some clues. See this door? Most doors are within a few inches of 3 feet. So the opening we are going to assume is 3 feet. So I'm going to go to my polyline and I am going to turn off grid snap. Get in here and I'm just going to click the end of the door. And I'm going to type, you see up here, next point of polyline, type 3. And then hit enter. What we've done is no matter where my cursor is, our actual line, whatever direction we place this, it will be 3 feet. So I'm going to hold shift to get our orthos and I'm going to put it over here. I'm just going to click and then I'm going to hit enter to end the line. We have a curve right here and it's 3 feet. Really quick, it's kind of hard to see this curve. What are we going to do about that? We are going to click on our image. We're going to go to this menu over to the right. If you click on this fourth one called Materials, you will see that, oh, you have to click on this right here. You'll see down here there's a transparency option. So transparency, if something is transparent, you can see through it. And right now the transparency is 0. If you crank this up to 100, it becomes invisible because it's fully see-through. I think this is a personal preference. Put it to whatever you want. But for me, I'm going to put it at like 50, 60% transparent. I think that's super helpful. So now I can see the line that I drew on top of this. It sticks out a little bit, right? Super helpful. I'm going to go back to my layers tab over here. Now we have this 3-foot line. We're going to take our image. We're going to type in scale. Hit enter. Base point. This is first point. Put it at the part that you don't want to move. So this corner down here. I'm going to click that. The scale factor is the second thing. It is the part that you want to get bigger. So this end of the door, right? And we have our O snaps on. And so it's going to snap us onto this line. Go ahead and click there. Then you basically get to drag. And what you can start to see is that you can grab it. So this door, the end that reference point you selected just now will click onto the end of this 3-foot line. So you click right there, and all of a sudden, your image is scaled, and this door is now 3 feet wide. So that's great. We are going to take our image, and we're gonna hit New Layer. We're gonna name this Image, and then we're gonna right-click, change Object Layer, and we're gonna lock it. What this does is this will allow us to draw without having any, problems with the image moving around, accidentally grabbing the image and pulling it around and messing up our drawings. So that being said, let's start tracing. I'm going to take this polyline, and we're just going to start right here. I'm going to get a ground plane going. The reason why I drag it all the way across is so that these are aligned. We are going to trim that off here in just a minute. Grab this, bring this up. We're going to start with our section cut, right? This thick, dark line. All right. Grab this. We're going to get in here. I'm letting go of the shift button when I need to do a diagonal. And then when it becomes a straight line, like right here, I'm going to hold shift, and that keeps it orthogonal. And I'm going to bring this down to this intercept, hit enter. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explode this into different segments. I want to do this because I'm going to offset some of them. Type in offset. Right now, the distance is set at 1. Let's see what that looks like. So select a curve to offset. I'm going to click this one. Hey, that's actually pretty close. That is pretty close for what we're wanting to do. So I can click there. I can hit enter again to do it again. Enter again. Get this one. Enter again. Get this one. These aren't perfect, but we're going to come back to those. Go back to our polyline. You can start to trace these. Now, something important that's going to happen is if I grab this end, see how it like turns white and says end? What that does is that creates this reference plane. And so I can start like pulling this over, and it'll find that intercept. There's no line right there, but what this does is it keeps us in plane with that line we drew earlier for the door. I'm going to hold shift to get this line ortho. And I'm going to bring this up. Looking good so far. All right. I'm going to hit this rectangle tool right here. Just going to start grabbing some of these rectangles. Now this is just a really simple trace job, and I'm doing this for the purpose of keeping it in line. So I'm going to pull this over, have this right here, and I can draw this line right here. Now we're going to start extending and trimming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this box right here. I'm going to type trim. I'm going to start just clicking on the lines I don't want. Boom. That looks great. Up here, we can do the same thing. What we want to do is we want to take some of these lines. We're going to extend them, right? So type extend, and we're going to follow the instructions. Select boundary objects, excuse me. So if we want this line to extend into this, we're going to click this. We're going to hit enter. And then when you click on this, it brings that line right to it. Very, very nice, very helpful. And then we can highlight all this and just start trimming away the ones we don't want. Click there, there, there. And all of a sudden, this is starting to look really clean. So let's just keep going. Get some of these. Enter, and then to end your line, and then enter again to do the command you just did. This image happens to be a pretty easy section, but I'm going to pull this a little higher than it needs to be. What we're going to do is we're going to take this, type copy, and grab this endpoint, bring it down here, and we just want this to be the same angle as the one we drew, right? And so now what we're going to do is we're going to extend some lines, extend. Oh, I'm sorry, that's explode. Extend, got to type a few more letters. This is a boundary object. This is a boundary object. We're going to click. Oh. If you hold shift and click, control, and then click on something you highlighted, it will unselect it so you don't have to start a command all over, because we're going to get into some lengthy commands later in the semester. Hit enter. Start extending some of these lines. Hit escape to get out of that. And then trimming. A lot of people like to grab everything when they trim just because it allows everything to be trimmed. So that's super helpful. Trim. Select object to trim. Start cutting some of these lines that we don't want. This is looking really good so far. Yeah, so even just as we go along, we can start to fill in some of these windows. So this looks to be a perfect square. And we can type in offset instead of drawing another square. We can click on distance up here. All of these options are changeable. So if you click on a number, it'll give you the option to type in a new number. Let's try 0.25, which is 3 inches. Look at that. That was a good guess. So that offsetted that window frame pretty well, and that looks pretty tasty. So I'm going to assume that the rest of these window frames are also about 3 inches. So as we draw a couple of these windows, we can just offset. So we get those perfect squares. Offset. So it will always use the distance that you used last. Click over here. Enter. Click in there. A super helpful tool, if you type distance, it will let you grab 2 points. So you can grab here and then here, and it will tell you up here that's 5.87 feet. And if 0.87 feet means nothing to you, what you can do is you can go to File, Properties, and in your display precision, you can change it from decimal to feet and inches. And then so if I type distance again, if you use it enough time, you'll just have to type in DIS. And it tells me, again, that is 5.87 feet. Interesting. Oh, it was the model was not set. So now if I do that again, see, even I still learn things. Yes, there we go. 5'10½". And you can set the rounding to, say you want it to round to 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, depending on the scale you're working at. That can be really helpful. Let's just keep going. So these windowsills are pretty standard and they are symmetrical. So let's say I want to draw this line in right here. I'm going to turn down on my O snaps the midpoint on, and I'm going to take this line I drew, and I'm going to type in mirror or MIR. It'll autofill mirror. Hit enter. Start of mirror plane. Go down to this midpoint and click it. Hold shift and just pull out, and it will mirror across that axis. And you just click and boom, now it's down here too. So that's super great. I can draw another one of these lines right here. Hit enter. Then we can highlight all this, type trim, get rid of this line that we don't want. This is starting to look really nice. We want our ground plane. If you hold shift, you can select multiple objects. Trim, get rid of this. All right. Up here, you gotta extend. And then we're gonna highlight all this, type trim. I reckon that this window is the same height as that other window. So we're going to take our whole window assembly we have started. We're going to type mirror. We're just going to guess that this is about halfway, and it looks pretty close. So let's take a look. It's not quite in there. If you drag this rectangle from the left, it'll select everything that you've totally encompassed in your square. We're going to type move. It'll let you grab this endpoint, and we can just kind of line this up how we want it. And it looks like this line is in just a little too far. So we can move this by grabbing, if we go down to intercept, turn that one on, we'll be able to grab that intercept of those two lines, pull that out. We can grab points like this, and if you grab a point, you can use your gumball to pull it forward like that. It's just another way to do that. Then you can highlight them and trim off these unwanted edges. You can trim these as well. And it's looking like all of this is fitting together really well. So what we want to do is we can, got some more here we want to trim as well. Boop, and boop right there. So we want to start organizing the lines before we add too many, okay? So I'm gonna make a new layer. Layer management is incredibly important. We're gonna move this layer to the top. We're gonna double click to rename it. We're gonna name it cut line. This is a section. We are looking at something that has been cut through, right, from top to bottom. So we see the basement, the first floor, the second floor. The line that is cut through is the thickest when we get into line weights. And what I like to do is I put each different line weight that I want on a different layer. So this section cut is going to be our thickest line. So we're going to take all the lines that are being cut through, which we're going to have to do some trimming, but we can start with these, for example. Come over here, change object layer, and it'll put them on the cut line. So if I were to turn the cut line layer off, they will vanish. So if we highlight this, take a look at what we got. There's some lines I want to get rid of, like this line right here. Also, this line, we're going to cut these lines out and then redraw them in because we want them to be on a different layer, this window pane. All right. Let's say we want this assembly of lines right here. All these lines. I'm holding shift to grab everything. So if you hold shift, it'll give you everything. And of course, these down there that we already did, but just for good measure, highlight our whole cut line, grab this, change object layer. And now if we were to turn this off, everything we're cutting through is hidden now, our cut layer, right? We are technically cutting through the windows, but we want windows to be a lighter line weight, just as a general rule. So I'm going to turn those back on, but I'm going to lock it. And we're going to use this default layer. We're going to say, maybe like we want this to be our 0.75 line weight layer, right? So we'll type that in and we'll keep drawing away. Some of these angles, if you want that angle to stay consistent, we will offset. Let's say that distance looks to be about 1. Oh, I have locked that line, of course. So 1 is too big, and so sometimes we just have to tinker with it. So let's try a distance of 0.75. It's a little better, but I think we can do even better than that. Let's try 0.7. That's pretty good. Up here, this looks to be a larger offset. So let's try 1 again. Looks to be a little bigger than 1. Let's try 1.25. That does the trick. Obviously, that's a quick guess and check. That's my own workflow. What you can also do is type in distance, say from here to here, grab that, and it's 10 7/8 inches, so about 11 inches. So if I were to offset this line, and I typed offset, hit distance, I could literally type 11 and then inches, put the little inches in there, hit enter, it will give me 11 inches exactly, which is right on there. But this curve, because this was one curve right here, it offset both of these, which we don't want this line down here, so we will trim it away. And yeah, we will just keep tinkering away at this drawing. You can grab endpoints and continue lines. If you are doing a polyline and you want to end it, you can also right click and it will cancel out of whatever you're doing, like that right there. I keep hitting escape instead of enter, and that ends the task before I'm wanting it to. And that is okay. We're going to type extend again over here. Grab this. Uncheck that. Hit enter. Start clicking these lines. Very good. Escape out. Highlight everything. Hit trim. Get that. Get that out of there. This one down here. Sometimes the yellow can be hard to see over top of a white, and that's okay. And we just want to kind of clean up some stuff. So for example, we want this line to be straight right here. I did it again, where I hit escape. Here, hit enter. We can just pull that point on over, line it up. So those are equal. And we can come over here. And again, we want these to be in plane as well. So we can take this, type in move, pull that up, and grab that. We can click and drag it up if we want, and then trim it. Trim away some of these lines. What you will find is there are often many different ways to do something or get to the solution that you're looking for. And in reality, you just want to find the way that works best for you. Different people have different workflows. It doesn't mean that one is necessarily better than the rest. Sometimes some are more efficient for some people, and sometimes other people just genuinely learn different. That is okay. Don't feel bad if you feel better about doing a different workflow than what I am teaching or what the people around you happen to be doing. If you feel like you are like it's quicker for you to draw using like the tools on the side rather than typing or anything like that, then that is okay. I want to take this line, I want to copy it. I just want to move it up because we want that angle to stay the same. And I'm also going to copy this line right here. Now I can just draw some more lines in. Now this is just very simple. Right now I only have 2 line weights denoted. When we take this into Illustrator, we can always add more if we want to. Let's see. See, it's really starting to come together, look really nice. And you're starting to get these angles showing. This is like a hatch, it looks like in this drawing, but you know what? We're going to come back through and do a lot of those details in an even lighter line weight, like the in-between walls stuff. So we're going to take these lines and we're going to do a box, or a rectangle. A box is 3-dimensional. We're just going to pull this bad boy up here. Boom, we have a door. I think down here looks to be another door. Get that in there. And now we're going to make one more layer, and we're going to move it down here. We're going to double click and name it 0.5, or you know what, 0.25. This will be our lightest line weight. What you can also do is like a layer, say the layer we just worked on. If you click on this box right here, it'll pull up this color wheel. You can change the color of everything on a layer. So when you're looking at it, you can just read it for what it is. So say all our cuts are going to be blue. There's like the preset blues, or you can just kind of pick something like a cyan, right? This can be very helpful if you've ever used something like CAD before, or something like SoftPlan. Those are other drawing tools that will use colored lines to denote different line weights. And so you can get real organized with this and get real into it. It's really your own prerogative. If you click, there's a little column right here. It is the current column. This is how you select a layer. So I can make anything, right? And I can have all these layers, but if I'm not on it, like this means I'm now drawing on the 0.25 layer, and it'll highlight that whole thing. So I'm just going to lock these other layers because I don't think I need them right now. And you can still snap to objects that are on locked layers. Grab this line right here, Draw a couple of these boxes. I'm going to assume these are cabinetry. I'm not super familiar with house gables as a project, but I do remember when I was your age at Knowlton, the architect who did house gables actually came and gave a Wednesday night Balmer lecture, and I thought that was really cool. I remember thinking that she was a really cool architect. So do feel free to Google her. I just quickly copied those rectangles, and it looked like it mostly lined up with what we're doing. Get that white dot to get the snap point right here. A lot of this is just redundant, where in the sense that you have already seen me do something similar, but I just want to get you all the way through just so you can feel really good about where we're at. Let's get this right here, grab this, copy. And again, this is really meant to help you perform well in studio in this beginning. I know some of you may have taken Ben Wilkie's Rhino class. If you did, props to you. I found it very fun and enjoyable when I was a student. But if you haven't touched Rhino before, that is okay. It is just one of those things where there's a learning curve. Some people are going to pick this up really quick, and others are going to have a little bit of a harder time, and that is just totally fine, totally okay. So let's say the logic behind this is the cut line is our thickest layer. The architectural elements are the next layer, and the lightest objects are our furniture. I think that is a pretty sane way to think about this. So let's unlock our layer real quick so we can trim this line out. Trim. And this looks pretty good. And if we type in distance, you can see this whole house is really about 18 feet wide. That's pretty thin for a house, but it works for a townhome. This door is 3 feet, 3'0". Oh, we love that. This is a very beautiful window right here. The frame of it is wow, almost 6 feet square. That will let a lot of light in, and we just have some really fun gables happening. So this is just a 2D drawing. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to export this to Illustrator and play with the line weights, and that should be a shorter video. So stay tuned. See you guys.